Hi, last weekend I watched A Quiet Place Part 2, the sequel to the 2018 science fiction horror written and directed by John Krasinski. It follows on from the end of the first film, which, spoiler, concluded with Krasinski's patriarch character being killed by the creatures that have somehow overrun the Earth and kill anything that makes a sound above a whisper. In the original film, they had Krasinski and his whole family, his wife, played by his real life wife, Emily Blunt, and their children had been living in a farmhouse in the countryside, making no noise whatsoever, assisted by the fact that their oldest daughter, or their only daughter rather, is in fact deaf, so they can communicate using signs. The first film ended with the farm being overrun and the husband being killed, and the remaining family with their newborn baby going on the run. The new film expands the world of the story considerably. They meet a new character, Emmett, played by Cillian Murphy, an old friend of their father's who's living in an abandoned industrial plant and has essentially, after the deaths of his entire family, given up hope of any future for the human race. But it turns out that the daughter has already discovered the creature's weakness, that high frequency sound that results from the feedback coming from her cochlear implant can disable the creatures and allow them to be killed. So we have various strands of story. The family splits up with the daughter and Emmett heading off to track down a signal from a nearby island suggesting that safe haven is possible. Um, the mother goes back home to find more oxygen for the baby because, of course, they have to keep it in an airtight container to avoid the creatures hearing its cries. And we have various action scenes going in various different directions. But the strength of the film really is the themes that it expands on from the first film, as well as seeing a much more expansive view of the world depicted in the previous installment. This one sees a broadening of the ideas, whether or not humanity is worth saving, the depths that people have gone to survive, with the inference that a group of people living in a nearby marina have turned to cannibalism, whilst on a nearby island, people have taken advantage of some of the people have taken advantage of some of the creatures turning out not to be able to swim, allowing them to live comfortable if isolated lives. The interplay between the various storylines and strands and the themes about what people will do to survive and what's worth surviving for, I think make this a much more interesting and rich film. And it's impressive that the whole thing is the work of Krasinski, wrote and directed the entire film without any other input, the previous film having been co-written with others. He also takes a small supporting role in a lengthy prologue showing the first day of the creature's arrival, the interruption being to a Little League baseball match before carnage breaks out as humanity is almost overnight, well, wiped out. It's a very strong film. I think it's one of the better films I've seen this year, filled with tension and excitement, strong characters, anchored with an excellent performance by Emily Blunt and a very engaging, developing one from Cillian Murphy, who has little dialogue, as the film befits, but develops from someone who has lost all hope in the future to someone who has found something worth fighting for. I think I think it's a really good film, the superior of the first, and I look forward to the possibility of a part three.